Hello everyone and welcome back to Behind the Scenes at the Oliver and District Museum. Welcome to part 3 where I'm going to be covering what an accession number is and how we apply it to the artifact. So once the object has been donated, we've accepted it into the collection, and we've put it into Past Perfect, we need to apply the accession number. So this goes hand in hand with putting it into the catalog because the accession number is assigned in the catalog and then we add it to the object afterwards. So an accession number is a unique number made up of 3 or 4 parts. The first part is the year that the item was donated. The second part tracks which donation the item came in with. And the third part identifies the item within the donation. An optional fourth part is usually a letter of the alphabet that identifies pieces of the same item. So if you had a box, the lid and the box itself would have 2 different item numbers because they can be separated, but they would have an A and a B showing that they are part of the same object. This really helps with dissociation. If that lid were to be separated from that box, we would know if we found them separated later on that they go back together. So to put the accession number on the item, first we need to decide where we want to put it on the item. We don't want to put it on the very front, just in case we wanted to display this item. We didn't want a huge number standing out to the viewer. So we're going to want to find a spot that you'd be able to find eventually. You don't want to have to look too hard for it, but you want to make sure that it's hidden. I know this object has legs that can unfold. So I just want to make sure that I'm putting it somewhere that isn't going to be seen if we were to put it on display. I think probably the best place to put it is going to be on the back here. So probably somewhere around here. When in doubt, we usually like to put numbers in the lower right corner. That's just a standard that museums use. So if you've worked in a museum before, you know that if you're looking at an object, you can probably look down in the right-hand corner and it's going to be there. So we use a special product called Acryloid B72. It is an adhesive. It comes like this, small clear pellets. So what we do is we melt those in acetone and it turns into this liquidy substance. I know the container isn't pretty, but it gets the job done. And so what's nice about this is it isn't going to harm any of the objects and it's removable. So we use acetone to remove it. This means that water isn't going to remove it. So if anything were to happen to the artifacts in the case of a flood, we're not going to lose all of the items. I highly doubt there's going to be an acetone flood. We just have to swipe on a small layer of this. You want to make sure you're leaving enough room that you're going to be able to write all 3 or 4 parts of the number. And we basically just let that dry and then we go on to the next part. So now that it's dry, we're going to put the accession number on it. We use special archival ink pens to write on them. This is waterproof and fade proof. So the accession number is going to last for a very long time. This is a very dark material. This is a black pen. You're not going to be able to see the number if I write with a black pen on a dark material. So what we have is acrylic paint. Normally I would not say to paint on artifacts, but because we have a barrier layer with the B72, we can put the water-soluble paint in a thin layer across it, being sure not to get any of the paint on the artifact itself. And then we'll let that dry, and that is what we will write our accession number on. Now that the paint is dry, we're going to use our special archival pen to write the number. So we start with 2020, the year that it was donated, 11, because it's the 11th donation to come in this year, and then 1. So you can see I've left way too much space on there because my writing is fairly tiny, but that's okay. We want to have more space than not, and again, we've chosen a space where the visitor isn't necessarily going to see this if we've put it on display. If I really wanted to, I could take this off with some water, acetone, and a Q-tip. Water would be for the paint layer, acetone would be for the Acryloid B72 layer, but it's not really that important. So I'll let that ink dry a little bit, and then I'm going to put another layer of Acryloid B72. This creates kind of a sandwich. So this means I'm not going to be able to scratch off the paint in the number. If water got on it, it's not going to remove the paint. It's just an added layer of protection from the acrylate B72. So that's how you add an accession number. We just wait for that to dry, and then it can be put into our storage room as is. This means we're going to be able to find it whenever we put it into storage. We're going to change our catalog record to reflect where we've put it into storage. What I've shown you here is one of the main ways that we attach an accession to an item. Acrylate B72 is used on basically all metal items, all plastic items, all items where the adhesive isn't going to soak into the material. But there are some cases where the acrylate B72 wouldn't be able to be removed with acetone safely. It would soak into the material immediately, so it wouldn't be able to be removed. Situations like that require different items to attach the accession number to, because we really want to make sure that every item has an accession number safely attached to it. Items like paper, photographs, textiles, and untreated wood all are special circumstances that would be damaged by the adhesive. For paper, we use a very soft 6B pencil. It is easily removed with a soft eraser, so it's not going to do any damage to the paper. Photographs, if it is safe to do so, we use the same pencil as paper. If not, we use special white or black pencils that are made for that purpose. Textiles, we use pure cotton, unbleached linen tape. Nothing's going to leach out of the cotton, and we use the same marker that we used on the acrylate B72 to write on the label. It is then safely stitched into the textile using a running stitch. So it's very easy to take out. You just pull on the thread, it comes out, and the label comes off. In any case where we don't think that we can write or attach a number to an object, it's too delicate, none of our various options are going to work for it, we do have paper tags. They are acid-free, unbleached paper attached with a linen string, again, unbleached, and they're not going to damage the artifact. Those can just be affixed to the artifact. This is not our preferred method because those paper tags can be lost, they can get wet, but special circumstances arise. We're always putting the welfare of the artifact before identifying it. Thank you for joining me for part 3 of Behind the Scenes at the Oliver and District Museum. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit more about accession numbers. Next week, I'm going to be covering artifact photography, and we'll see you then.